Right, we're here again in Chi-Town with Mr. John Petrucci about to play in G3. I've got a few questions that I wanted answering, and hopefully you'll find the answers fascinating. The first one is this. Born and bred on Long Island.
Yes.
So, Steve Vai and Mr. Satriani.
Yeah.
Is there something in the water there?
There might be. Isn't that crazy?
It's weird.
Three Italian guys that play guitar in Long Island.
Perhaps it's the Italian thing, because I lived on Long Island for 14 years, folks, and I still suck. So it's not the water. It has to be something else.
Yeah.
What drives you? Because you're always, as with the guitar designs, your playing is always evolving. You're always moving forward. What drives John Petrucci to keep pushing that envelope?
I think it's a couple of things. I think one, that the way that I'm wired is I'm a creative person. So that's kind of like how I don't know. It's just the way I work. I like to make things, create things, write, and try to constantly move forward. So, that's really referring to music, but it goes hand in hand with guitars,
Right.
Being able to like have some kind of idea and then make that idea become a reality. I mean, first of all, I hope people understand that the position I'm in is something that like I hold really dearly. I don't take for granted. I'm really fortunate to be able to work with Sterling and his family to where these crazy ideas become instruments that then somebody else enjoys, and then they have a musical career, and they are able to be creative as well. So that position that I'm in is, I don't take lightly at all. But the idea of wanting to be creative is something that drives me. And also, I like to push forward. I'm always really fascinated by companies or people that have done things in an innovative way where you can always count on them, like the quality or whatever. It's always going to be great. Whether it's like Walt Disney or the way that Apple does things or BMW, it's like, it's not going to suck, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're always going to be trying to like keep that level, going and make it better and better and push and find what they did wrong. And, they're not complacent companies or people. And I love that. I really look up to that and admire that.
One of the things that impresses me about you is the fact that you're always moving forward, but you always maintain what you've already got. How much does that take just to maintain your dexterity, your speed, your two-handed coordination with the alternate picking is great.
Right.
Is Steve Morse quality, in my humble opinion. How long does it what do you have to do behind the scenes that no one sees to be ready for that hour and a half on stage, to be John Petrucci? How many hours does that take on a weekly or daily basis?
That's a good question. I think first of all, it takes a lot of work. I've never been the kind of person where it's just always there.
Right.
It seems like other guitar players I've seen are like that. It's like this kind of unstopping facility that doesn't pick up a guitar at any point and they just play like that.
Right.
I feel like I need to put the work in, and the biggest thing is consistency. And I think I play the best probably when I'm in a situation where consistency is happening by necessity, whether I'm in a studio and just playing and writing and recording every day so my playing gets better, or if I'm on a tour like G3 and I have a certain set of music to play and I have to keep that up. And so I need to make those chop sessions happen every day. And then we're playing so many shows that there's that real high level of consistency where you can perform the way that you want. That's when I'm at my best in those circumstances. But it's not just something that just comes out. You have to work on it.
So before you hit the stage, how long do you warm up for?
Well, it's a funny thing that you ask that, because that's tricky, because sometimes you can, we're talking to Phil Collin about this, it's like you peak too soon. And we were talking about how there's a difference between warming up and practicing before a show. And warming up probably is the better thing to do, because you're going to expend a lot of energy during the show. So warming up means you're just kind of lightly going through some exercises or scales, or maybe some of the difficult sections that you're going to face during the night. Practicing is when you're like hardcore, metronome, clicking up the speed, really it's more of like a workout. You're sweating, your arm muscle is maybe a little tweaked because you're like And after you do that, you almost need like a day to recover. And sometimes I'll do that. I actually did that last night. And I was like, damn it, I got on stage. I was like,
I peaked already.
You peaked already. So, you have to watch that too. So practicing too much before a show is not highly recommended.
So it's that fine line between clever and stupid, as they said in Spinal Tap.
Exactly.
I've never heard it put that way, but that's actually really correct. Because you can, there'd be nothing worse than walking off a stage going, I was better in the dressing room.
Right. That's the worst.
You should have been before the show. I was really good.
And I can't tell you how many times that happens. and you'll be like, man, I'm going to be amazing tonight. I'm like, oh, and then you get up there and you're like, damn it.
The one thing I also, this is going to sound obsequious, but I love the way you play it forward, no pun intended, but that's exactly what you do. Your Guitar World column was great, the book that resulted was great, and you're not one of these guys who hides his secrets under a bush. You're actually going, this is what I do, this is how I do it, watch, do it, learn. And I must say, this blew me away, was the fact that Guitar World just did their 3 masterclass sessions. First one was, of course, Mr. Vi.
There you go.
Then this Joe Satriani dude, and then look, it's that guy.
Look at that. The 3 Italians from Long Island.
There you go. Long Island, Italian, better than me. That's what they've all got in common. How did that make you feel when you were the number 3 on that? Because that's the hierarchy right there.
That's great. Yeah. When Jeff approached me from Guitar World with this idea that he had to do this kind of series where these will be collectible issues of the magazine where you want to. It's not something you want to toss in recycling. No. You're going to want to hold on to that because there's so much information that's imparted by Steve and Joe, and I tried to do the same thing. So I was highly honored, and it's just great to be part of that trio. That was the original G3 that I did, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Was Joe, Steve, and myself.
Now, this is number 7 for you, is it?
Something like that. It's either 7 or 8. It's getting up there. And there's another one in Europe that's starting in a couple of weeks.
Do you find it inspiring to play with people who you've never played with before?
Absolutely.
I mean, how is, for those who don't know, Phil Collen is one of the best guitar players I've ever seen. Remarkable.
Yeah,
I've been a fan of his since Girl in the early 80s.
Long time.
His solo on Hollywood Tees is staggering.
Yeah.
Like one of those,
Yeah.
And as is his solo on Stage Fright, which got him the Def Leppard gig, and that was first take, which never happens with Mutt Lange. When you're on a tour like this, do you ever find yourself watching and learning from those guys? I'm sure
all the
you
time.
do.
All the time. You mentioned before about like imparting knowledge and everything. I find more often than not that guitar players are really willing to share that. Like everybody's really proud of what they do and the amp they use and check out this pedal and this technique. I had never had a problem with guitar players sitting down and showing each other and sharing what we do. So that's a great thing I think about the guitar community.
Right.
And playing with Joe on G3 all this time is just like insanity because he's one of my favorite guitar players.
Do you ever pinch yourself and go?
Yes, exactly. Like how I look over and I just watch it, and I tell him every night I try to pick up a new lick, just by watching him. But it's hard to do. He just freaks me out. I just laugh. I'm on stage and I watch him and I'm like cracking up. And then he plays these songs that are just some of my favorite songs of all time. And I'm just in awe of him as a person, as a professional and writer and guitar player.
His musicality.
Is beyond.
And he's such a nice guy.
Such a nice guy. And then talking about Phil, so I met Phil for the first time on this tour, and I'm blown away. I'm blown away by every aspect. I mean, here's a guy that has this unbelievable, success in Def Leppard that only a handful of people can say that they have, right? And he's written some of the greatest songs ever. They're all over the radio still. And he has that talent as a writer, as a guitar player, as a producer, as a singer. He does it all. Yeah. And then you meet the guy. He's like the coolest guy on the planet. No. He's like such a gracious, nice, generous person. We have these great conversations night after night. And then we're doing these solo trades. And I'm watching this guy rip like it's like nothing, Plays blues, he shreds, he does all this stuff, all with a smile on his face, all just completely with this great attitude. And he's such a professional on all levels, The other day we got a private Def Leppard concert in our dressing room. He was playing through my little practice thing, and It's like, this is great. Play that one. Play
Yeah,
that
some
one.
of the intricacies that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
Like when I did a Guitar World lesson with him, and he showed me Love Bites. And
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. I know.
What's under the solo is
Yes.
almost better than the solo, as
Very
great as
cool.
the solo is.
Very cool.
And he's got 3% body fat. I hate him.
I hate him for that too. Yeah, exactly. Crazy.
It was funny, just a quick story about Phil is we did a Jackson shoot years ago with him, and he was we found a car in the middle of a field in Nashville.
Yeah.
You know, outside Nashville, obviously not in the center, and he took his shirt off as always, and the CEO at Fender went, why does he always have his shirt off? I said, look, if you look like that, you'd be in the
Exactly.
you'd be in the meat section of the supermarket with your shirt off. Wouldn't you?" He goes,
Exactly.
yeah, stupid question. Sorry, I won't ask that
It's
again.
so funny. We played the other day in New Jersey, and I had my wife came and other friends and some of the girls in her band and stuff, and we came up the elevator, and the elevator opened, and there was Phil standing in a towel with no shirt on, and it, like normally like a guy would be like, oh, sorry, and like, but he's just like standing there.
Of course.
Yeah, and everybody's like 10 people, just like, hi, Phil. Like, and he's like, hi. He's like standing there all proud. I'm like, oh, damn, man.
As you should. As you should. 2 more questions. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for doing this, by the way. What would you've had a remarkable career in terms of longevity. Like, you know, you started in 85 and you're still here now.
Yeah.
It's 2018.
Yeah.
And you'll still be here in 2019, 2020 with another Guitar Brother review with Ernie Ball. What advice would you give to someone who'd like to follow in your footsteps, or at least some of them?
Yeah. Well, you know, talking about Phil, this is something we talk about, and I talked to Joe about this too. You know, I think the people that kind of do that constantly push forward, it's a conscious effort. You know, it's something like it's the way you are as a person. It's why you're driven to want to, you know, look better, play better, write better, act better as a person. It's like these people who have an attitude of like moving forward, not resting on your laurels, not being complacent, not being lazy, all that stuff. I think that people pick up on that. So when you're, you know, talking about like my music and Dream Theater and our career, you know, when you do things where it's obvious that you put the time into it, you didn't phone it in.
Right.
Everything is you try to really do as best as you can on every level, the same way that Ernie Ball Music Man does with all these little details we talked about.
Tiny little things that mean
Tiny
a lot,
little
like
things.
that is great.
Yeah, oh, it's ridiculous. The mirrored Majesty symbol. You know, that's a way of life.
Yeah.
That's a mindset, and hopefully you surround yourself with people that are in the same, you know, that have the same philosophy, and that's what it's all about.
And sorry, I lied to you. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions.
Yes.
Because your physique's changed quite a lot over the years.
Yeah.
For the better, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
I've grown in different ways. But does that help your guitar playing, or does your guitar playing help that? Because that's discipline right there.
It's another form of discipline.
Right.
I've always, you know, been into weight training. I got into it at different degrees during my life, but at some point I was like, I'm going to do this more. You know, I'm going to eat more and do this more. Yeah, but it's a discipline in the same way guitar playing is. So it's all about form, consistency. I'm not so sure it's related. One's related to the next as far as like, is it helpful? I mean, maybe your back doesn't hurt as much, but these guitars are only 6 pounds.
I'm just wondering if it was just a disciplined mindset.
I think it is a disciplined mindset. It also, to me, exercise really helps with like anxiety and things like that. You know, I think it's a good thing to kind of dissipate that stuff.
Gotcha.
And so that when you're, you know, I find like, for example, as long as I don't go too crazy, because you can work out like a madman and then you're all stiff for the show. You don't want to do that. But getting exercise in on a daily basis, and then when you're on stage, you kind of feel a little more centered, I think, and a little calmer, and that's the place I like to be.
Yeah, Phil's kind of a good walking example of that.
He's a great walking example of that, yeah.
Yeah, I know he trains a lot, and you can see it. And something exudes from him. There's a positivity.
A lot of positivity, absolutely.
Or confidence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's confidence, it's positivity.
But not arrogance.
There's not an ounce of arrogance. He's like so gracious.
Last question.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
Oh, I started last night. And
it's not bad.
It's my Italian 5 o'clock shadow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
John, for your time, your humor, and your eloquence, thank you so much.
Thank you.
please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I
And
will.
make more lefties. And the great thing is, if you're a Sweetwater customer and you're into being a lefty, well, you're into being a lefty. You have no choice like me. You're born that way.
Yes.
There's a bunch coming. We have 6 coming soon of different models of this fine man's guitar. So, John Petrucci, thanks again, man.
All right, thank
Appreciate
you.
to see you in Toys R Us.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Sweetwater.